Okay. Yeah, good morning, ladies and gentlemen. Depends on where you are connecting from. Hello, I hope you can hear me.
We can hear you loud.
Okay. Yeah, once again, good morning and afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. So depending on where you are connecting from, my name is Benga Kunwale, project manager working with International Potato Center in Malawi. And I'm going to be the MC for today's Malawi DeSIRA launch. I would like to welcome and thank every one of you for participating in this virtual launch. For those who are following us on the Facebook and those who are joining this webinar. And I'm very happy to see many scholars who have already joined this webinar. Ladies and gentlemen, I would like to say that history is being made today in the agricultural research for development landscape of Malawi. It must be noted that the project that we are about to launch today is a multidisciplinary research for development project. And this project is put together by a coalition of over 40 international scientists coming from diverse backgrounds. And these scientists are coming from 10 international research centers to develop integrated technology options that will really address the major challenges that farmers are facing in Malawi. And then 8 of these research centers are located in Malawi. They are the International Agricultural Research Centers, and 2 are coming from Europe. You will agree with me that this project will deliver the next generation of integrated technologies that will set the stage for the long-awaited agricultural transformation in Malawi. Without wasting much time, I would like to walk you through the program for today. So for today, we'll be having the overview of the projects, and this overview will be delivered by Dr. Daniel Van Voort, the country manager for International Potato Centers in Malawi. And then after that, I will have Joyce Njoloma, who will give a talk on natural resource management in the context of the DeSIRA project and also climate change. And then shortly after our presentation, then I will have the privilege to call on Dr. Jim Pierce, I think the EU DeSIRA program managers, who will give a brief remarks. And after his remarks, then I'll call on Dr. Paul Demo, the regional director for Africa for International Potato Center, who will give remarks on CG collaborations in Malawi. Then after that, then I will have the honor to call our invited guest, His Excellency Dr. Wisim Makumba, the director of Department of Agricultural Research Services, who will deliver his speech and also launch the projects. And then finally, we have the question and the answer section. And this section will be anchored by Vivian Atakos, our regional communication officers, for International Potato Center. Then without wasting much of our time, and then I would like to start the program, and then by inviting Dr. Daniel Van Voort, the country managers for International Potato Center from Malawi, to present the project overview. Dr. Daniel, over to you.
Thank you very much, Benga, and welcome everyone to this seminar. My name is Daniel van Vught, and I'm just going to give a brief overview of the program. I'm going to share my screen. So the DeSIRA project is part of a larger EU initiative, and it stands for Development of Smart Innovation Through Research in Agriculture. It is a new EU-funded research project in Malawi. The bigger title is Climate Smart Innovations to improve productivity, profitability, and sustainability of agriculture and food systems in Malawi through multidisciplinary research. The location are 10 districts in Malawi, mainly in the northern part, but also and central, but also 3 districts in southern Malawi. These are the same districts as the EU-funded Kolima program. The duration of the project is from December 2019, and it's a 5-year project. with a total budget of about 6.3 million euro, of which 6 million is the contribution by the EU. So a wide range of technologies are promoted in this project, including cereals, legumes, root and tuber crops, fodder, fruit trees, fish, and research topics can cover also a wide range of issues around variety development, agronomy, natural resource management, soil fertility, pest and disease management, nutrition, post-harvest handling. So the project covers a wide range of crops and technologies. In terms of partners, we have 8 CGR centers based in Malawi, contributing to the project. We have 2 European partners, University of Liège and DeSIRA. The project is implemented in close collaboration with various government departments, mainly DARS, but also other departments, and it is funded by the European Union. As a bit of background on some of the challenges in Malawi, or the situation in Malawi, we know that maize is the main food crop that is produced in Malawi, covering a large area of the agricultural land. To provide food for the population, with enzima being the main food consumed in Malawi. Although in some of the districts, especially on the lakeshore, cassava is also a major food that is consumed in Malawi. So with a growing population, there is increasing pressure on land to provide enough food, and especially also nutritious food that can complement staple food. Some of the other challenges in the country are climate change, pests and diseases, droughts, decrease in soil fertility, aflatoxin or mycotoxins in food, and more. You can see that there are also some challenges with deforestation, where charcoal and firewood needs result in some deforestation and environmental degradation as well. So in that context, it's important to improve climate change adaptation of agricultural and food systems in Malawi through research and uptake of integrated technological innovations, which is the main objective of DeSIRA. And the program is divided in 3 other strategic objectives. The first one, to develop climate-resilient integrated technological innovations to address all these challenges we have just described. The second objective is to enhance understanding and opportunities and constraints for the uptake of these integrated technology options. The final objective is to also inform policymakers and scaling partners about the potential of these integrated technological options, how they can contribute to climate change, sustainability, and also we look at how to create a good environment for adoption of technologies. So the rest of my presentation just focuses on these objectives. It should be known that in a research project, we look mainly at what we see on the left here, the outputs under all these objectives. Once we have generated new options that can benefit farmers through our research, it will also be important to make them available to a large number of farmers in the country, which is a bit outside the scope of this research project. But we will link closely with policymakers, other partners, NGOs, programs like Kulima that are working with 400,000 households. All those kind of programs can benefit from new technologies that are generated to actually bring them to the farmers. In our research, we will, under output 1 and 3, we will do a lot of on-station and on-farm research. I'll briefly highlight some of the topics that will be covered in the program. Under the integrated technology options, we will be looking at intercropping, agroforestry, conservation agriculture, soil fertility management, other improved practices, and for example, fish and rice systems. Under output 2, when we look at pest and disease management, some examples are integrated control of fall armyworm and control of other fungal, bacterial, viral diseases in various crops and fish. Under post-harvest management technologies, some examples include hermetic storage of legume seeds and grain, potato storage in sawdust, biopesticides against maize weevil, just to name a few. And when we develop these technologies, they should be designed and evaluated in a participatory way, meaning together with the farmers for who these technologies are intended. So under this output, we will conduct many on-farm participatory evaluations with farmers, but also with stakeholders from the districts where we work. We would like district innovation platform stakeholders to work together with us and the farmers to develop the technologies that best meet the farmers' needs. Under output 5, which is mainly led by IFPRI, we have realized that there's a gap between the awareness and adoption of agricultural technologies in Malawi. As you can see in the graph, the awareness is often higher than the actual adoption. So IFPRI will also be taking the lead in trying to analyze barriers to adoption and trying to get better insights in what are the requirements for technologies to be adopted by farmers, and why are certain technologies adopted and others not, even though there is more awareness about them. CIRAT will also is based in France, and they will take the lead in output 6. Impacts of technological innovations are evaluated through a participatory process that enables identification of potential impact pathways and synergies and trade-offs between sustainability outcomes. So basically they are looking at if you introduce a technology, what are the outcomes? What is the effect on income, on sustainability, on food security, on different aspects. Then under output 7, which is quite important, where we look at all the information that has come out of our research under output 1 to 6, and we need to share that with policymakers and other partners that can scale out the developed technologies and the lessons learned. So this is an important part of the project, to make sure technologies or new farming practices don't just end up in research papers, which is very important, but also are going to reach the actual smallholder farmers. In that process, with working with farmers and communities, gender and youth aspects will be very important in the on-farm trials, in the participatory evaluations, in the socioeconomic studies, because there's a wide variety of farmers out there, not just in terms of gender, but also in terms of resources. And normally we see some technologies work better for women, others work better for youth. So we need to make sure that all smallholder farmer categories are covered in our research activities. And in terms of capacity building, there will be many trainings, but I just want to highlight that one DARS scientist will study towards a PhD degree in banana virology at the University of Liège. So this ends my summary of the overview of the project. I've shared some highlights of the key objectives on how this project can contribute to mitigating some of the effects of climate change and addressing some of the production challenges in Malawi. So thank you very much for your attention.
Thank you, Daniel, for the excellent presentation. We all agree with me that this project is loaded with integrated technologies options. So at this point, I would like to invite Dr. Joyce Njonoma from management in the context of the DeSIRA project and also on climate change. Joyce.
Thank you
Over
so
to
much. Thank you so much, Benga. I will soon be sharing my screen in a moment. You will allow me to speak without my camera on because I would want to save to be able to manage through the network. My name is Joyce Njoloma. Basically, I just want to add or make an emphasis on what Daniel has already indicated to say we're looking at natural resource management under DeSIRA in the course of climate change in Malawi. Why are we flagging this one out, natural resource management? All we are doing is to nurture agricultural systems, and we do recognize that it's all bound to be supported by systems that relate to soil, water, plant, animal diversity. This relates to micro and macro, and then we're looking at vegetation cover, renewable energies, that all these support the fundamentals of and the structure for a functional agricultural system for social and environmental sustainability. And that's why we are here to say whatever we are doing in DeSIRA is to ensure that we manage the natural resources that support the systems that we are promoting. In this particular slide, basically, I just wanted to really highlight to say we have current challenges, and I flagged out the two main ones: land degradation, basically looking at the loss of tree cover. All of us will agree that governments, individuals, and also organizations have actually promoted tree cover, and we're looking at the land high populations that's indicated in the earlier presentation to indicate that we even cultivating in areas which we would have called watersheds or areas which are protected, as I've highlighted in that particular picture. That's a very slope area, and we are saying we cannot say no to people cultivating in there, but how do we manage? How do we conserve those resources? And so to ensure that we reduce on the soil erosion and nutrient loss, and then that's also another challenge. And then organic matter, of late, it has been flagged out as the main contributing factor to poor productivity. All of us will agree, and those of us who are in Malawi here, in most parts of the area, the burning of crop stovers and all that leads to loss of organic matter. And so this particular project is bringing in back those ideologies where we will be incorporating organic matter to say we will have to improve production by looking at these current challenges and reversing the same for a better future. And we also recognize that we are actually in an era where climate change is actually the talk of the day. So we are actually saying weather variability is all over, and that this is due to the changing climate. And it actually has brought with it a lot of droughts, dry spells, floods, increasing temperatures that to some extent some of our crops cannot withstand. Pests and diseases are also in one way or the other promoted. So the project, DeSIRA, actually comes in with expertise to look into this through research that's going to be conducted, that by the end of it, we should be seeing some efforts being done. And so just to make an emphasis on what my colleague Daniel had presented is that as centers, we will promote a number of activities. I have highlighted a few that will be testing crop genotypes at multiple scale and the agroecologies. And in that one, in as much as I've only indicated the crop genotypes, but we also have a sister center, that's a World Fish Center. They're looking at fisheries. And so they'll also be doing the same. And that's trying to ensure that amidst the changing environments variable weather and the climate change, we are able to serve the nation with appropriate crops, and then ensuring that there's food security, and then with nutrition. We will also work on mitigation of soil fertility through synthetic inputs and the natural resources. And that's where Daniel was actually indicating to say, we'll do agroforestry, we'll do biotechnology and all that, so that we actually bring all these processes together to support the ecosystems, and that in the end, we support a good agricultural productivity endeavor. Pests and diseases, as highlighted earlier on, will also be some of the aspects that are going to be looked at. And all these we're saying, if we manage our natural resources properly, we should be able to contain pests and diseases for both in the field, where we have to manage and have good crops, have good fish, have beautiful products in the very end. And so we will need to have healthy plants for them to actually survive, for them to persevere, for them to get through the pests and diseases that they actually are still able to produce amidst the presence of that, so that we don't really get to high levels that we cannot manage because our crops are very poor, and then we cannot manage them. Likewise, if we have healthy crops, the end result is that we're going to yield healthy grains and healthy fish that we can actually be able to utilize and even store for longer. So all these, the centers are going to be doing with the mind, knowing that we have natural resources, we have to exploit to actually mitigate the impacts of climate change. In the next slide, I'm just highlighting to say, earlier on I mentioned about trees, soils, and all that, to indicate that we are promoting various trees, and these emanate from trees that are going to provide leaf litter for soil organic matter improvement and the subsequent soil fertility improvement, and also fruits that we can actually incorporate. And many times prior, we have actually talked about planting these trees alongside cereals, but I want to highlight here that we are working with different partners, different CGs, and different commodities, and that all these, we can actually promote integration of different cropping systems, and that by the end of it all, we have an integration system that promotes productivity, not hampering productivity, because we are now will be knowledgeable as to how better we can manage our natural resources. And so I have a question here which says, whatever we are doing, we have so many questions we can ask. Which trees, which shrubs, which cropping systems can we actually integrate to maximize productivity, and for which place? That's why we're going to different agroecologies. And so we are also saying that naturally, having seen some of the pictures where trees are really cut and then the mountains are cut, we are saying we can maximize promotion of indigenous trees that they regenerate by themselves, and just training farmers ourselves also to manage the same, and that they will grow even much better, much faster than the planted ones. Allow me to indicate that with the time I was given to highlight on the importance of natural resources management, I want to indicate that each one of the stakeholders, we will participate, and then at different levels, but the end result or the impact we're looking forward is that all of us now shall be able to use properly these natural resources, with the trees, water bodies, when you talk about lakes, rivers, and then dams and ponds for our water resource, and then soils to support the productivity on the land, and then biodiversity, those that are micro and macro faunas in there that will support the productivity. And we are saying that all these shall support ecosystem services, and including agricultural productivity, which DeSIRA is promoting for the economic growth and all that, but more so to ensure that these systems are climate resilient. And so in the nearest future, we should talk about different issues and that we will have tackled the challenges I've highlighted earlier on, and that all of us shall actually rejoice by the understanding that we have in this particular project promoted natural resources management to ensure that agricultural productivity is promoted and it is as resilient as we have desired to have it so. So basically, that's a highlight I wanted to bring in to say, all said and done, natural resources management are going to be a core for all the technologies we're going to be promoting. And I would want to indicate that we always talk about transforming lives and landscapes with the trees alongside all other crops and resources that we have around. Thank you so much, and thanks for having me in this particular webinar. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you very much, Joyce, for making more emphasis on the multidisciplinary dimension of the project in the area of natural resource management. Yeah, thank you very much. Honor, I would like to invite Dr. Jean-Pierre, the EU DeSIRA project managers, to give brief remarks on this occasion. So over to you, Dr. Jean-Pierre.
Thank you, moderator. Dr. Wilson Makumba, the Director of the Department of Agriculture Research Services, Dr. Paul Demo, the SIP Regional Director for Africa, Dr. Daniel Van Vogt, the SIP Country Manager in Malawi, or the CGRL Country Manager based in Malawi, partners of the DeSIRA project in Sirat and the University of Liège, colleagues from the Ministry of Agriculture and Food Security, distinguished guests, all protocols observed. It is an exceptional honor for us to be interacting with you today for the launch of the DeSIRA project in Malawi. As already explained, DeSIRA is standing for Development of Smart Innovation through Research in Agriculture, is a global initiative by the European Union aiming at sustaining transformation of agriculture and food systems by relying more on the use of science in development. Generating and using scientific knowledge and innovation is a way to appropriately respond to the challenges affecting the sector of agriculture and food system. From its design, the DeSIRA program was based on various key principles comprising the following. Climate change has become an overarching theme which needs to be addressed. Secondly, the support to research is seen as part of the EU contribution to the transformation process of the agriculture and food system. Thirdly, there is a good opportunity for establishing partnership with European research institutions. And lastly, we have to continue looking for additionality and complementarity between the new research program and the already existing development programs. In the context of Malawi, the project we are launching today is entitled Climate Smart Innovation to Improve Productivity, Profitability, and Sustainability of Agriculture and Food Systems in Malawi through multidisciplinary research. It was designed in response to the first call released by the EU headquarters in 2018. At that time, it was considered that a such project prioritizing research in agriculture and food system in order to address through science and innovation the challenges caused by climate change was very much aligned with the national policy orientation in Malawi. By here, I can refer to the MGDS 3, the Malawi INDC, the Malawi National Climate Change Management Policy, as these policies are recognizing climate change are the big challenges and are considering that it is through science and innovation that they can be found solutions for these challenges. For the agriculture and the food security sector, we have the NAIP, National Agriculture Policy, and the NAP, National Agriculture Policy, and the NAIP, which both of them are recognizing climate change as a serious challenge, and innovation systems are also considered as a way for finding sustainable solutions. Ladies and gentlemen, these few examples demonstrate how the DeSIRA project is well aligned to the national policy orientation, and it will contribute to achieving various important targets for the effective transformation of agriculture and food system in Malawi. The agriculture and food system of challenges are already demonstrated by the previous presenters, leading to low productivity and high production risks, endangering the food and the nutrition security and income for smallholder farmers, and affecting also the socio-economic growth of the country. As already said, there are various negative effects which are leading to this situation, among which we can refer to soil fertility degradation, unpredictable rainfall characterized by drought and floods, limited access to agriculture inputs, increasing pressure from pests and disease, limited skills and knowledge about the best practices among the farming community. All these factors are aggravated by the climate change, and this justifies the current project we are enjoying the launch today. Dear the Director of DAS, Malawi is well known for having built a system where there is a constant and strong collaboration between the national research system hosted by your institution and the different CGR centers operating in Malawi. This good partnership between the national and the international agriculture research system has facilitated the CGR centers based in Malawi to engage in the process of CG country collaboration. This good development has inspired the design of the DeSIRA project for Malawi. And in this context, the DeSIRA project has been designed in a way such that all the 8 CGR centers based in Malawi and 2 EU-based institutions, namely CIRAD and the University of Riyadh, could work together to address the complex, diverse, changing, and affecting constraints through development of dissemination and of multidisciplinary and integrated technologies which are more appropriate in the context of the agri-food system in Malawi. In this way, this project is also fully aligned to the recommendations of the recent research mapping study which was conducted in Malawi in 2016. The DeSIRA project in Malawi will indeed have some particular specificities as compared to conventional research projects. It is a multidisciplinary project bringing together a diversity of actors having various areas of expertise. It will target development of integrated technologies in order to address the diversity of challenges aggravated by the climate change. It will take on board issues related to dissemination and adoption of innovations in the agriculture and food systems. It will learn from the impact generated by technologies and will inform the policy process in order to promote evidence-based policy development. Lastly, it will contribute to capacity building at PhD level in a priority area for the country, namely the banana value chain, and this is expected to create conditions for long-term sustainability. Dear the DAS Director, the new research project will be complementary to other development projects in general and the EU development project in particular, namely Kurima and Afikepo. In this context, the project will be strongly linked to as groups established under DIMA will effectively participate in on-farm trials to be undertaken by DeSIRA. And in addition to that, the research equipment acquired under Kulima will be available for the use by DeSIRA in general and by the PhD student in particular. I would like to stress on the importance of DAR's participation in its quality of the main national organization for agriculture research and as the main entry point for the CGR centers in Malawi. The PhD education will help DARS to increase its capacity to respond to the needs in the area of the banana value chain with an increased access for Malawian scientists to the latest technologies. Dear the Director of DARS, ladies and gentlemen, before I close my remarks, I would like to thank the government of Malawi and all DeSIRA partners for having committed to work together and take the transformation of agriculture and the food system of Malawi at another level in line with national priorities as defined in the general policy orientation of the country. If the working together spirit is sustained over the coming years, there is no doubt that Malawi will greatly benefit from this specific DeSIRA project for addressing various issues through science and innovation. On that, I wish you all a successful implementation of the DeSIRA project and the promotion of science and innovation in agriculture and food system in Malawi. Zikomo kwambiri.
Yeah, thank you very much, Dr. Jean-Pierre, for that inspiring and excellent remarks. So coming up next, we have the honor to invite Dr. Paul Demo, the CIP Regional Director for Africa, to give his remarks on CG collaboration in Malawi. Dr. Paul, over to you.
Thank you very much, Master of Ceremony. The representatives of EU, the representative of members of Donor Committee for Agriculture and Food Security in Malawi, representative of DARS and of various government departments in Malawi, representative of CGR centers, representative of Luana and also of other learning institutions in Malawi, representative of FAO, the representative of non-governmental organization, distinguished guests, all protocols observed. Ladies and gentlemen, I am delighted to provide some remarks during this virtual launch of the DeSIRA Malawi project. We are in a time when globally the CGR is strategically moving towards a unified and integrated one CGR operation with a joint mission of ending hunger by 2030. This through science to transform food, land, water systems in a climate crisis. Ladies and gentlemen, the CGR has been actively present in Malawi since early 80s, conducting research and implementing food security projects to improve smallholder farmers' livelihoods. This has been done through research, policy, and development activities covering a range of crops, including cereals, legumes, root and tuber crops, fodder, fruit trees, fish, and delivery system for these value chains. The project implementation with national partners has been a very great example, working with DAS, and also with other stakeholders within the country. We have been, the projects of CIJA have been aligning with country agricultural development priorities, contributing to agricultural sector-wide productivity and through a group contribution and national development. The centers work along the value chains in areas of variety development, seed system, agronomy, sustainable natural resource management, soil fertility, nutrition, food safety, post-harvest handling, policies, institutions, and markets. In addition, the work of CIJA centers and partners in Malawi has focused on management of existing and emerging pests and diseases. Also, aflatoxin, mycotoxin, such as aflatoxin, and providing evidence-based policy advice. Ladies and gentlemen, in 2015, the CIJA decided to pilot a process that was called site integration, later renamed country collaboration, and SIP was nominated to start leading the collaboration in Malawi. This process aimed to better align CIJA interventions within Malawi with strategic plans and enhance coordination among centers and collaboration with partners in research and development, as well as operation efficiencies. This has been done in perfect coordination and planning towards aligning with the government priorities in the development in agriculture and related sectors. In February 2016, SIP organized together with other CIJA centers a site integration national consultation workshop with participants from government, from donor community, NGOs, private sector, and other stakeholders in the country. Both government department and donor community welcomed the commitment by the CIJA to collaborate towards achieving Malawi development agenda. Ladies and gentlemen, the CIJA collaboration was not a new concept in Malawi. This is because we already had in the country some programs, or we would call them projects, that were working together with multiple number of centers in collaboration with national institutions. I will name the example of the ICRISAT-led Feed the Future Malawi Improved Seed System and Technologies that was called MIS project. It was implemented between 2015 and 2019 by 4 CG centers. The Irish Aid supported collaboration with CIJA projects in the country with focus on root and tuber crops and legumes. And following the site integration, the EU provided new opportunities through SIP for CIJA collaboration that involve more centers. I cite the case of the Kulima project through GIZ, funded by EU, that started in 2018. This project aimed at taking the technologies that have been developed to benefit the communities using the model of farmer field schools. And this initiative aimed at reaching 400,000 households. The CIJA is also strengthening the seed system of all its value chains to enhance availability and access to quality inputs in the project, this Kulima project in the district that are targeted. Malawi is now regarded as the most advanced country in terms of CJA collaboration. Ladies and gentlemen, it is with this background that EU is funding DeSIRA Malawi project, in which all the 8 CJA centers in the country will work together with DAS and other partners to develop new integrated multidisciplinary technologies that can sustainably increase productivity of smallholder farmers in the context of climate change. To end my remarks, I would like to thank the EU for the opportunity to strengthen the collaboration between CJAs, Government of Malawi, European Union institutions, and other partners. I would also like to thank DAS for the strong partnership with the CJA centers. Finally, I want to thank the partners of the projects, DAS, SIAT, CIMIT, ICRISAT, ICRAF, IFPRI, IITA, World Fish Center, CIRAT, and University of Liège for support in designing this program. And we are looking forward for a fruitful collaboration in the DeSIRA project. Thank you so much for the opportunity.
Yeah, thank you very much, Dr. Paul, I think, for that remark. And then we're happy to see that the DeSIRA project is really expanding on the CG collaborations in Malawi. So at this point, we have the privilege and the honor to invite our guest of honor, His Excellency, Dr. Wisin Makumba, the Director for Department of Agricultural Research Services here in Malawi, to deliver his speech and also officially launch the project. Dr. Wisin, over to you, sir.
Thanks very much, Master of Ceremonies, Dr. Akiniwari. Let me recognize the Regional Director for Africa for CP, Dr. Paul Demo, the Country Representative for CIP, Dr. Daniel Van Fact, the representative of the EU, Mr. Jean-Pierre, the representative of the GIZ, representatives of the FAO, representative of the CGI, representatives of various government departments that are actually with us, representatives of Luana and other academic institutions that might be watching us, representatives of the non-governmental organizations, representatives of the private sector, distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen, good morning. Ladies and gentlemen, I am delighted to join you in this virtual meeting to officially launch the 5-year DeSIRA project that aims to improve productivity, profitability, and sustainability of agriculture and food systems in Malawi. DeSIRA stands for the Development Smart Innovation through Research in Agriculture. The project has a funding of the magnitude of 6.3 million euros. And this seeks to address the challenges in the smallholder agri-food systems in Malawi by developing climate smart integrated technologies, options adapted to local conditions and to farmers' preferences. The project is one of the many initiatives that are being funded by the European Union, the EU, in Malawi. Agriculture holds the key to food security. Economic sector still faces, oh, I think I'm missing something. Sorry, I think I'm missing a page there. I need to go back. Agriculture holds the key to food security, economic growth, employment, and overall poverty reduction in Malawi. The sector accounts for 30% of gross domestic product. It generates more than 80% of the national export earnings, and more than 80% of our population depends on agriculture for food and employment. Despite the gains made through research and development interventions, in the past years, the agriculture sector still faces quite a number of production challenges resulting from adverse climatic conditions such as current droughts and floods, declining soil fertility, and outbreaks of pests and diseases. Scientific prediction suggests that these adverse climatic conditions will continue in the next decade, affecting the food and nutrition security of the people, especially smallholder farmers. Ladies and gentlemen, it is against this background that the project was designed to improve the climate change adaptation of agriculture and food systems in Malawi through research and uptake of integrated technological innovations. The project is expected to expand and build on many existing research for development initiatives that are being implemented to respond to the complex constraints being faced by smallholder farmers in the country. The project objectives are directly aligned with the government's research priorities to address climatic change and build resilience as set out in Malawi's National Agriculture Policy, the NAP of 2016, and the National Agriculture Investment Plan. In line with the climate change adaptation strategy, the project objectives will focus on the development of climate resilient integrated technological innovations. This will involve the development of diversified crop and livestock production systems, robust integrated pest and disease management strategies to predict, monitor, and control existing and emerging biotic threats to agriculture, and improve post-harvest management technologies. The research will be conducted in a gender-responsive manner, and the expected technologies, when adopted by farmers, will lead to more resilient and productive agriculture systems in Malawi. Distinguished ladies and gentlemen, the project is expected to contribute to understanding of the opportunities and constraints for uptake of integrated technology options by farmers through social economic analysis of barriers to adoption, as well as the available opportunities and the conditions required to increase technology uptake. The information and the knowledge generated through these studies will fill critical knowledge gaps and further inform policymakers and upscaling partners about the potential of integrated technological options to contribute to climate resilience and sustainability, and the enabling environment required for adoption. Ladies and gentlemen, the project activities will involve establishment of on-station experiments to evaluate various integrated technology options at various research stations and on-farm trial to allow farmers and other stakeholders to participate in the evaluation of the various technologies, but also to give the opportunity to the farmers to select the technologies that they can easily adopt and manage on their own thereafter. This approach is expected to foster joint learning and also help partners to, at the district level, to continue support the farming communities to access and use the most preferred technologies after the end of the project that fit farming systems of smaller farmers in Malawi and in different localities where indeed these technologies will first be piloted. Ladies and gentlemen, this project is likely as it has come at a time when people's employment and livelihoods are threatened by COVID-19 pandemic. Sustainable integrated technology interventions that ensure food and nutrition security and income generation in the context of climate change are urgently needed. Let me also reiterate that the project is special because it promotes cross-center collaboration through clustering of scientists from various CG centers, Luana, DAS, and indeed other institutions to develop climate smart innovations that are demand-driven and tailored towards the technology needs of smallholder farmers. Ladies and gentlemen, let me conclude by expressing my profound appreciation to the European Union for their generous support to fund this program. I would like also to thank International Potato Center, CIP, for taking the lead in preparing the project document that we are celebrating today. Permit me also to recognize the team of scientists from SEAT, CIMIT, ICRAF, ICRISAT, IFPRI, IITA, World Fish, CIRAD, the University of Liege, DAS, who have contributed to the development of this project proposal. Your invaluable contributions have made this historic launch possible. Ladies and gentlemen, at this juncture, I have the honor to declare the DeSIRA project officially launched. Thanks very much. God bless you all.
Yeah, thank you, Dr. Wisin Makumba. Thank you very much for that inspiring speech. So I want to congratulate every one of us who are participating in this launch today. So the DeSIRA Malawi project is officially launched. So congratulations to all. So at this point in time, because we have had so many presentations and remarks, and then it is possible that we have one or two questions that we may like to ask or we may like to seek further clarification. So at this point, I would like to invite Vivian, who will lead us in the section of question and answer. Vivian, so yes, over to you.
Thank you, Benga, and thank you to all our panelists. The sessions have been enlightening. Yes, this is Vivian, and I have been following the discussion from Facebook, and our participants have left a number of questions. We had up to 50 participants joining on Facebook, and there's a question that I would wish to direct to Dr. Makumba. Stephen Mbamba is asking, at what level will DeSIRA Malawi offer solutions, production, marketing, or processing? And how will this happen? So Stephen wants to find out to what extent this project is going to offer solutions. So maybe Dr. Makumba, if you're there and you can hear me, you can just come in and answer that.
Okay. Thanks very much. Actually, that is really a very good question that has been asked. And indeed, this project actually is tailored firstly to look into the issues of productivity, so that the problems that the farmers are actually facing out there in the fields, we really need to provide solutions to that and make sure that actually the farmers really producing despite of the climate change and those numerous problems that have already been actually cited in most of those previous presentations. As we are actually increasing the productivity of the of our agriculture, the other thing that indeed we need to work on is to link the farmers to market, so that the farmers have got actually a stable market where they are actually offload their produce. Already the government of Malawi is really looking into that, where at this point, I would actually say that the reviving of the ADMAC is one of the areas where we would like actually to promote the offtake of the farmers' produce, so that at least we are trying, of course, to get away actually from encouraging the farmers actually releasing their produce to the vendors, where actually the vendors are getting these products at a low price. And the other area where we're actually trying to encourage actually the farmer to make money is where the Malawi government actually we are coming in to provide actually the minimum pricing for each commodity to make sure that the farmers are not being cheated. At least they are getting something that actually will pay them off at the end of the day. Processing actually is really very important. And I wish to encourage that indeed this project should also look into that to make sure that the farmers are not always getting the raw materials actually to the market, because it does not add much value. But if we do process, at least we add value, and the farmer will earn more than actually selling the raw materials. So basically, I think that is what I could actually respond. But of course, the colleagues would also maybe wish to add a little bit more. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Dr. Makumba. I believe that is quite clear. We have another question, and actually it's a comment. Caroline was asking whether they can be able to access the speech that was shared by the EU representative to Malawi. I will believe that is possible, but we could hear from him. That should be fine, right?
Thank you for the question. For sure, we will share the remarks that can be given.
Thank you for that confirmation. Maybe a question I will direct to Daniel. Daniel, Lito is asking, where will the project be implemented, and what criteria are you going to use when these areas are being selected? And maybe you can combine it and answer also Rashid, who is asking the crops that will be targeted. Daniel, over to you.
Yes, thank you very much. So the project will be implemented in 10 districts mainly. These are the same districts as the Kolima project. So they are Mzimba, Chitipa, Karonga, Nkata Bay, Nkota Kota, Kasumbu, Salima, Mulanje, Tiolo, and Shirazulu. So because DeSIRA is a research project, it can complement very well a more extension-based project in such as Kolima that is also funded by EU. And that was the basis for the selection of these districts. Although there are also research stations that don't necessarily fall in these districts. So the on-station work will be done in research stations across the country. but on farm will be in those 10 districts. Vivian, what was the other question?
What criteria has been used to select those areas? Did you
Okay,
answer
I think
that?
I've explained that because we want to complement the Colima program. So that is why we were also advised by EU to select these districts.
Okay, thank you, Daniel. Okay, I think this question would actually suit you, but since you have spoken to us, maybe we could ask Benga to come in and tell us a bit about how the findings of the project will be disseminated. Maybe Dr. Benga could talk about that, and maybe also Dr. Makumba could come in and comment about how we are going to disseminate the information of the findings of the research, because Hope and Alama says that sometimes it's hard to get reports in particular instances. So he wants to know how farmers and other stakeholders will access information about DeSIRA.
Okay, thank you very much, Vivian. I think the outputs of this project will be disseminated in through three channels. The first channel will be the output of this project, maybe in terms of technology develops, will be recommended into the technology clearing committee, which is the committee that sees to the release of technologies in Malawi. So the technology that will be developed through this project will be released through the technology clearing committee in Malawi. And then once the technologies is released, then the farmers can access such technologies, at least to improve their productivities. And then the second channel is the result of the technologies, maybe the knowledge that will be generated through these technologies will always also be published as a journal, maybe as a journal article in some of the journal publication. And this can be accessed by scholars, by students, and then by other stakeholders. And also the third channel that the result of this project will be disseminated, it will be through the policy brief. So at the end of the day, the knowledge or the information generated will be, it will be developed into policy brief, which we can now use now to maybe to influence maybe policy dialogue among the policy makers. And then this will really guide, the policy makers and then the other stakeholders, maybe in the dissemination or in the development of technologies that really address the needs of the farmers. So basically, the output of this project will be disseminated through these three channels that I've talking about as a technology release that will be, that will be available to farmers to use to increase their productivity. And also as a journal articles, at least for scholars to be able to read the project, and then finally to policy dialogues in implementing some of the agriculture related.
Thank you, Benga, for that response. Do we have any other panelists who would like to come in and add towards the dissemination?
You mentioned my name. Maybe should I come in?
Yes, come in, please.
Okay. Yeah, actually, let me start from the implementation. How it is going to be implemented? Actually, in research, usually we start with the only research stations where we tend to refine our technologies. So those that are really very promising, they're the ones now who take them out to test with the farmers and also popularize, actually to the farmers. So at that stage is where we are also taking we take those technologies now to on farm for further testing, actually to see the adaptability under the farmer management and the ecology that has actually shown to be actually adopting to those technologies. This really helps actually that when we are taking those technologies to the farmers, we are not taking technologies that we are not really very sure of their performance. That's why, first of all, we start with on station. After the farmers have selected those that are really outperforming in their localities, and indeed they do prefer. Because when we go, we'll be going to the farmers' field on farm. Actually, the farmers will be participating actually in the implementation of those trials, and the farmers will be also allowed to do the evaluations so that at least they give the feedback to the scientists, and where necessary, the scientists actually can fine-tune those technologies to make sure that they are suiting actually the farmer and the ecology where actually these technologies they are going to be implemented. On the part of dissemination, that is really very critical, because we want all our technologies that we have generated, whether under this program or those that did not find their way out to the farmers that are really promising, but they are still stuck in the research. We will take out those technologies and indeed fine-tune them, and we'll take them out to the farmers. So most of the pathways, some of them actually have been highlighted by Dr. Akinwale. But what I just wanted, of course, here to hint on is the involvement of our dissemination or extension machinery. So in this case, of course, since this is a collaborative program, our colleagues from the Department of Extension Services will be coming in. That will be assisting us actually now to take these technologies to the farmers, because actually the setup of our extension reaches each and every farmer in the rural setup. But we also have, again, the Department of Crops Development, which is also key to taking of these technologies actually to the farmers. The technology, actually, land resources should not be left behind. They are also very key actually in the natural resource and land conservation. So I just wanted actually to mention this in addition actually to the pathways that have already been mentioned by Dr. Akinwale that will be used to disseminate. So the key people that will be involved in actually in the dissemination, I thought I should actually mention about them.
Thank you very much, Dr. Makumba. Your answer is quite comprehensive. So I would like to come to Dr. Joyce from the World Agroforestry Center, and your question will be, how are you going to ensure that marginalized groups, such as the elderly, maybe the widows or the orphans, benefit from the program? So maybe you can just sort of think about your response on how we are going to make this program to be as inclusive as possible. And maybe as you reflect on that, I'd like to read a couple of comments that have come in. John Zungize says, I like the idea of the one CGIAR integration in this project because smallholder farmers are multidisciplinary. They don't grow only one commodity. The only way of achieving agricultural and food systems is to go for a multidisciplinary approach as much as possible. I therefore like your technology dissemination approach using the farmer field schools. And then another comment from Willard Mbewe. Willard says, congratulations for a great launch. And we're looking forward for successful and fruitful collaborative research for development in Malawi. So Dr. Joyce, probably you might be ready to weigh in on how we might make our project more inclusive to reach the marginalized. You could even focus on the natural resources management angle. I can see her. I'm not sure. Yes. Okay. I can see she's unmuted. Dr. Joyce?
much. The network I am in is. Can you see? Can you hear me now?
Yes,
can you hear
you
me
can
now?
hear. Mhm.
Okay. When I put on the video, that's when it actually records that it is not stable. That's why I put it off.
Yes.
Yeah. So all I would say is that indeed all we are doing, I do not want to go back to what my colleagues have indicated, that we are following a process. And this particular process is like, for now, we are going on session, and then you will be going, scaling out to the other people. Now, when you ask me how inclusive is this going to be, it may not be on their own station. Then we involve the communities, the targeted farmers in the areas we are in. And as I did indicate to say, we are looking at a number of technologies. Some of them actually requires us to involve people who are going to produce seed within the localities for people in those areas to have access to. So that ensures that even the elderly can have access to our seed, and then they should be able to try them on. And we have a number of outlets where we do meetings like participatory assessments, and this involves quite a good number of people, including the young, the youth, and the elderly, and those middle-aged people. And also, amidst us, we are going to be doing nutritional aspects, and that enables people to know what food to grow and for what purpose. So we do encourage, like I would give an example of the orange fleshed potato and then orange maize for porridge and all that. So you see that we are feeding the young and then the elderly, and all of us are supposed to benefit in that. So I would actually say that the access to information is going to be made available through various forms of meetings with the locals and the communities, and then to pull a number of people to participate. And then we also have field days where we actually invite, maybe it will be soon, maybe the COVID slows down. We do have a number of people, close to 500 or more, that participate and listen to that. And also there are community radios who actually publicize what is happening. So I would actually indicate that there are so many other avenues, and as the partners in this particular program, we actually are geared to say we will reach out in different various forms that many people benefit in one way or the other. It may not be as uniform. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Dr. Joyce. And even as you were speaking, I remembered Dr. Makumba had mentioned about the, sorry? Yes, thank you very much. I can remember Dr. Makumba mentioned about gender in his speech this morning. So next question, we have Victoria. Victoria is asking, what is the sustainability plan beyond the 5 years for the farmers who will be participating in the project? What is the sustainability plan beyond the 5 years for the farmers who will be participating in the project? And I feel that as the lead, maybe agency, SIP could attempt the question, and also we can hear from Daz about sustainability. So I would like to ask either Dr. Demo or Dr. Daniel to come in, and then Dr. Makumba can come in and respond to that question.
Thank you. Let me share my video. Thank you, Vivian, for the question. In terms of sustainability, we are Yeah, I just want to highlight again the type of project we are in, which is basically a research project, which is quite different from development projects. So in development projects, your aim is to reach like 100,000 of households. In a research project, your objective is to come up with new technologies, new practices that work for farmers. So the numbers of farmers we will be working with will not be very huge. And these farmers will know that they will be participating in what is research. So they will help us to identify the most promising options. They will help us understand about the trials we have with them. What is it that works for them? What is it that doesn't work for them? So these farmers know that they are participating in research. And if the technologies are successful and approved by government, then they can continue also working with these technologies. But in terms of sustainability, we look more at development programs that you want a large number of households, hundreds of thousands, to benefit in the long term from the project objectives. And that will happen when we have identified all the new research, all the new options for farmers. Like Dr. Makumba said, then they will be channeled through the Department of Agricultural Extension Services, through other NGO stakeholders, we call them scaling partners. So other projects and the government can also now carry those technologies and start promoting them in follow-up programs and as part of the regular government extension activities. So that is how I see the sustainability plan for this project. And maybe others can still also add or contribute.
Thank you, Daniel and Paul from Nairobi. I want to contribute. Yeah, considering that there is a strong plan to work with the national partners, starting with DAS, the Department of Agricultural Research Services. The sustainability plan for continuation of research and innovation work in Malawi should rely a lot on how we build the national capacity to be able to continue the type of work that we are starting. And I've learned that in this project, we do not have only a plan to work with national partners, we also have a plan for academic training so that we have within the country the required capacity to be able to initiate, implement, and continue innovation, development of innovation. Yeah, I see this very important as an exit strategy for every research we do in each country. We have to be very mindful of the fact that the longer term sustainability rely on the building of the capacity in country. Thank you.
Okay.
Thank you, Paul. Dr. Makumba, I see you are raising your hand.
Yes, you mentioned me, so I thought that actually I should also contribute. Of course, I will not reiterate what the two colleagues have already said, but rather I just wanted to add that indeed, with the collaboration that has been put in place to bring actually the national organs into the system, so that at the end of the day, those technologies that are going to be approved, you know, will continue taking those, will mainstream those technologies actually in our programs, so that at least that should continue. We know as a project, it has got a period, then it will phase out, okay? But we really need to continue with those actually promising technologies, which we know that the farmers will really benefit. So in this case, we are saying that DAS, which is the Department of Agricultural Research Services, will continue providing actually the technical backup. We know once we take generated technology and it is approved, it goes out there. At certain points, we still meet with some problems, you know, which you need, of course, the scientists to come in and look into those issues and provide the guidance. We have the Department of Agriculture Extension services, which indeed those technologies, they will be taken on board so that they'll put into their national programs as aligned to our NAIP to make sure that those technologies are continued actually to be benefited by the farmers. We have also the Department of Crops Development that also actually doing the same, that will be doing the same, actually continuing disseminating those technologies to the farmers. Let me also mention this, that normally when we are doing our project, it is not possible that we can take the project flat out to all the districts in the country, to all the farmers in the country during the implementation phase. It is not possible. But what actually we benefit from this is when after we have actually selected those sites which are ecologically representing other sites, then there is actually at the end of the day, those approved technologies are taken also to be implemented in the other areas where they are enjoying the similar ecology. So at least with that, at the end of the day, we'll reach even farmers that we are not testing these technologies during the project phase. You know, after the project has phased out, we'll be able to get those technologies, then extrapolate to those other areas of the ecology so that other farmers can also benefit on those technologies. So there's that big spillover, which we anticipate that at the end of the day, those technologies, the promising technologies that will be generated by this program will go flat out into the whole country through our dissemination machinery that we have in the country. Thanks very much. I just wanted to add on that one.
Thank you a lot for those comments. Indeed, they are very useful and they've helped to clarify. We also have a couple of journalists that are waiting in the media center. So I think we should move to them and engage them a bit. I know there are a couple of questions that are still in the chat box. We will still try to answer those, but let us give an opportunity to our journalists that are in the media center. So do we have any questions to any of our panelists? Please introduce yourself and tell us the media you're representing, and then ask your question.
I'm John Anderson. I work for Malawi News Agency as an editor. Looking at the program, you are launching it now, so it means the implementation is from now. I just wanted to find out what measures have been put in place in order to implement the program amid this COVID. Secondly, there are issues of natural disasters. And now I'm looking at the 3 districts that are there, Kalonga, Kotakota, Salima, where they are prone to flooding. I don't know what measures have been put in place in order to check this. The other issue is the issue of market. Malawian smallholder farmers have cried for years that they produce, but what they get from their produce is not what they expect. And there was a mention of ADMAC, but ADMAC, looking at the structures that are there now, they're not conducive to what these smallholder farmers are expecting. And the other issue, I think it was Dr. Njoloma, mentioned about the issue of fisheries sector, but it looks like levels of fisheries activities have dwindled over the years. I don't know what measures have been put in place in order to revive the sector. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much for those questions. Very weighty issues indeed, and I think we should handle them just now. So you asked a question about the measures that have been put in place, especially during this time of the pandemic. And I would wish to ask Benga as the project manager for DeSIRA, maybe you can weigh in on some of the measures that we have put in place, even as we start implementation. And then maybe Dr. Njoloma, you can be thinking about the fisheries sector. He mentioned that, well, farmers are not really benefiting as they should. So what are the measures that perhaps through this project we could work on to ensure that there's a revival? And then we have the issue of market prices and also the flooding. So let's tackle the first two. Then we can come back for the others.
Okay, thank you very much, Vivian. So let me try to address the question raised by how would the project be implemented during this COVID-19 situation. Well, actually, we've realized now that the COVID-19 is here to stay with us, and then this is a new normal. So, and then there's nothing we can do with it rather than to develop an innovative way of getting things done, even with the COVID-19 pandemic that is with us. And then what we are trying to do is trying now to see how we can implement the project. Actually, currently, we don't yet have much field work, but we are hoping that maybe the pandemic will soon be over. But if it continues, if we continue to face the new normal, so we have planned to still find an innovative way of implementing the project activity, the feed activities, maybe following all the safety guidelines, or the safety guideline being put out by the government, by maybe wearing of masks, social distancing, and then washing of hands. I think we'll be at least observing all those guidelines in order to implement the projects. But currently now, most of the project implementation is being done through virtual meeting. So we are having series of seminars to really fine-tune the research protocols, and then doing some other activities. But we hope that at least the pandemic will be over before November, when we'll be going back to the field. But if it continues, at least we'll find a way of implementing the field activities by observing all the safety guidelines, and at the same time still get the job, at least get the project on track. Yeah, thank you very much. I think that's what I can say about implementing the project activities under the COVID-19 pandemic.
Thank you, Benga. Dr. Njoloma, are you ready?
Yes, I am. There's an indication that I mentioned about capture fisheries, fish farming, and that farmers are not benefiting so much. I would like to end very new, but as we are improving the innovations, our system center, the World Fish, they've really come up with technologies that are going to reach out to the farmers, in as much as we are doing, improving or adapting these technologies. I want to indicate that under Kulima, we have actually done a bit of it, and we have seen farmers benefiting. Within 6 months, they can harvest quite a lot of fish, healthy fish, and nutritious fish. And because of the integration I talked about, that these farmers, while they put up ponds in areas which are suitable for ponding, they also are able to put up, to grow crops that supports the growing of fish, and then the water from the fish also supports the growing of other crops. So this integration brings out a multidisciplinary activity within the community. So every other participating farmer takes out one or two things. So I would actually indicate to say that it's not only going to be an isolated pond somewhere in the Dambo, but it's going to be amidst a big of activities where you have so many other activities happening and then complementing to one another. So it's actually, we have actually seen it already yielding, and I would want to actually indicate here to say that for me, I'm hopeful, and I have all the trust that the farmers are going to benefit with the fisheries and the technology that are going to be promoted by the World Fish Center. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you very much for weighing in on the issue of the fish ponds and telling us about the progress that has been made and how we will move forward. Okay, he also raised another question on the market prices, and I felt like I'm not too sure who should go, but maybe from the government side. Dr. Makumba, are you in a position to address that?
Yeah, actually, it's a little bit tricky because we cannot only depend on one organization actually to be absorbing all the farmers' products. As we are scaling up, we have got quite a large number of, farmers that will be participating. And in the country, those that are producing, there are so many. We are talking of excess of 4 million farmers. So indeed, with the resources from ADMAC as of today, where we are trying, of course, to restructure ADMAC to make sure that at least it's one of the prominent is for offering actually reliable market to the farmers. But also the government is still actually within our policies that we have just reviewed, providing good environment for investors that are coming into the country. So these investors, of course, they are also creating a market, especially to the farmers, because their raw materials, they are agro-based. So we are actually opening up in that way, and we're hoping that as many investors are coming into the country, we'll be able, of course, to put that competition on the, on the market. As such, the prices, of course, will be coming up. Whereas as it is as of now, with the ADMAC actually not really coming up in full force, it is giving leeway to the vendors, to be absorbing this produce from the farmers, and they are really getting actually a poor deal actually on their products. So we are trying actually to work on that one to make sure that at least the farmer is really benefiting more. In my speech, I also mentioned the issue of, I think the first question that I got, there was an issue of processing. The processing, it will help the farmer actually to improve on their products, so that as it goes into the market, it adds more value as opposed to selling and processed, agro products. This is why we would like indeed to encourage most of the farmers to work together in cooperatives, whether they are selling their products, raw materials as in a cooperative, they are able, of course, to bargain on the prices of their commodities. And those in the cooperatives, at least they can go to a certain stage where they can acquire some processing machine, which they can use, of course, to process their products and indeed add more value. So I think that is what I would actually be encouraging the farmers actually to be doing, so that at least they enjoy the benefit of the market and the good pricing. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Dr. Makumba. So maybe as the next round of, as we prepare to maybe welcome the next journalist to ask the question, we have our EU representative to Malawi, Dr. Jean-Pierre Busogoro, and he will come in to weigh in on the COVID situation. As you know, it's not just Malawi, it's not just DeSIRA that has been affected. There are many other projects, and the whole world is actually in this pandemic. So Dr. Jean-Pierre will come in and talk about it briefly. And he will also respond to a question from DevCo, who are asking on how we plan to work with farmer organizations. So Dr. Jean-Pierre, please, you're welcome.
Thank you, moderator. I just have to make a brief correction. I'm program manager at the EU delegation, and I'm in charge of this DeSIRA project. So to come back to the questions which have been raised about different aspects like the continuation of activities under the COVID pandemic period, or how farmers are going to take advantage around the fisheries, I may say two things. For the activities under the COVID period, I think it's very important for the partners to respect the government measures and identify the activities which can really happen even in the context of this pandemic. On that, I think we can already mention that, for example, the PhD student under the supervision by the University of Liège has already started to work on his topic to identify the areas of investigation, because this kind of activities are not affected by this pandemic. The same is true for the real definition of the research topics. We have been enjoying since a couple of weeks the presentations by the different CGR centers on the activities that they want to conduct. And this has been a good occasion for the partners to identify the areas of collaboration and where they might have good opportunities to interact in order to come up with these integrated technologies. So this is to show that although the difficult time we are going through, it is still possible to conduct some particular activities without taking people at risk. And in this frame, as we mentioned it during our remarks, I think it's very important to also highlight the fact that the DeSIRA project is not an isolated one. As we said, since the design, there was a wish to link it to the other development project, and especially some more EU-funded project. So now, under the current context, the Kulima project is already running and is developing some experience on some kind of activities which can be continued without putting the beneficiaries at risk. So the DeSIRA project will also be running from the experiences which are already generated by the other projects like the Kulima. This brings me to talk about the fisheries subsectors. I think our colleague from ICRAF has clearly mentioned the good experiences which have already been generated under the Waterfish Center through collaboration with the Department of Fisheries, and where it is really becoming obvious that it is possible to develop technologies which can benefit directly the farmers. Now, to respond to the colleague from EU headquarters, DEFCO, yes, sure. This project, the DeSIRA Malawi, will be also working with the farmers. I think through the different statement, including the statement by the director of GARS and the different CGR centers like SIP, it was clear that there will be some on-station trials, but also on-farm trials. So the working at on-farm level will involve systematically participation from the farmers. And through the links we want to create with the already existing farm project, the links will go mainly through the Kulima project, where we have groups of farmers which are already working with the CGR centers through the component coordinated by GIZ. These groups the groups of farmers who will participate in these on-farm trials will be selected among those groups. So for sure, it is clear that this project will be working with farmers. If I may end by, again, the example of the PhD student, one of his activities, it will be also to make sure that he comes up with the Malawian genotypes of bananas after cleaning them from the viruses infections. So these materials will be quickly multiplied under DARS through tissue culture facilities. And from there, these materials will be handed over to farmers groups through the collaboration with the other departments like the DCD and the DIAS. So yes, I can say that the collaboration and the participation of farmers will be assured. Thank you.
Thank you very much for coming in and for those comprehensive answers. We have one question from Blessings from the World Bank. She is asking, will there be any role of the private sector and the media in dissemination besides the mainstream use of the DAS? Otherwise, she says that this is a good project. Daniel, would you come in and answer Blessings?
Yes, thank you, Blessings, for the good question. The private sector can play a role and should play a role in the program, even though the main objectives are to look at sustainability and climate resilience of farming systems, and food and nutrition security and increasing productivity. Those are the main areas we are looking at. But of course, private sector participation becomes very important. And I can think of some areas, such as we will be having some district level innovation stakeholder meetings, where we can also invite private sector partners to work together with scientists and farmers to evaluate the technologies. And private sector might be interested, for example, when they need specific varieties or specific characteristics of the crops. For example, sweet potato processors would be able to provide information on what kind of varieties they need. Vendors and exporters of beans, for example, would benefit from the trials on bean storage to make sure there are no weevils in the beans. Those private sectors engaged in groundnuts could also benefit, looking at aflatoxin issues. So there will be definitely a role of private sector to also support us in the technology evaluation, and there may be various technologies that private sector will be interested in taking up that are coming out of the program. So I believe there should be a strong presence of private sector in the development of the technologies. Maybe my other panel members can also weigh in.
Yes, anyone can come in and add. Okay. Daniel, I am not sure whether it's my internet. Are we okay?
Yes, I think we're okay. I think there may not be other contributions from the panel.
Oh, okay. Okay. So I think that's it from our side in terms of the questions that we are able to answer today. Just 3 minutes to 12 o'clock to noon. So maybe I will hand over the Benga.
Okay. Vivian, thank you very much. Well, it has been a great day, and I want to thank everyone at least for this great launch. And then I'll use this opportunity to thank every one of us who has been part of the great launch, for those who joined the webinars, and for those who are following us through Facebook. I really want to thank you for taking this time to be with us on this occasion, as is to launch this project. And I would like to say that this is just a beginning of an exciting journey, so we cannot do it alone. So we need the collaboration of others, at least to make this thing work. I think we are here to really support our smallholder farmers, and then for them to be able to produce their crops and produce it in a very good manner, and then for them to be able to make money and for their lives to be able to be transformed. So it will really involve the collaboration, the joint effort of every stakeholders to make this thing work. So at this point, if there are no other things to do, so I would like to thank every one of us, and then I would like to declare this event closed. And also I wish you a good day, and also as you continue to keep safe. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much.
Yeah, thank you.